Do we have sound now? Yay! Thank you for letting me know. Okay, let's start over. The Book of Demonology by King James. Did you know that this was published years before the official King James Bible was released? We should have sound now. Let me know. All right, there we go. I'm glad I'm reading the comments. Otherwise, I would have done this whole podcast. And at the end of it, I would have been like, oh, no sound through the whole podcast. So anyway, the Book of Demonology, written by King James. This was published in the late 1500s, like 1597. And I'm going to show it to you. It's quite frightening when you read about the torture methods used on people that were allegedly practicing witchcraft. And they were saying that they were doing that because they had to expunge, they had to get rid of the devil. So they came up with the most horrendous torture methods possible. I mean, this is frightening. But anyway, on a lighter note, it's beautiful out here in Southern Colorado, and I have an event coming up next week. It's a free webinar. I'm going to be with Jay Matta, and we're going to be teaching people how to turn their passion into profit, how to do podcasts, how to use artificial intelligence for creating thumbnails and descriptions, and how to save a bunch of time, how to use AI to actually help you get better at what you do. Don't have it take over. But anyway, it's going to be a free webinar. If you want to join us, just send me an email, leakproject@gmail.com. We've helped a lot of people thus far with their platforms and their podcasts. So it's a lot of fun too. Jay Matta and myself, we've done over 7,000 podcasts. He's the founder of Gnostic TV. So you're going to have Gnostic TV and Leak Project backing you up. And also check out our EMF protection. We have EMF blocking hats. We have Faraday cages for your phone and EMF blocking gear at tinfoilcap.co. And make sure to check us out on Patreon for exclusive content. Okay, here we go. Let's show you what is on the horizon. Now, this is the Book of Demonology, the Book of Demonology by King James. Well, I look like I caught the sun? What do you mean? Hey, Kat, what's up? Hello to the UK. Aloha from Maui. Right on. Right back at you. Aloha from Colorado. Hey, Will. Shalom. Nice to see you. This is the Book of Demonology by King James. You can see right here, it was published in 1597. In this treatise, there's actually 3 books. You've got different aspects of witchcraft that are described, the supernatural, and then there is dialogue. It's called the Socratic dialogue between 2 characters in the treatise to describe how witchcraft works. And then when you get to the end of the treatise, there's like 30 pages that outlines how a doctor or somebody that called himself a doctor in the 1500s was actually tortured because he was working with the devil. Wow, the torture methods used. I'm not even gonna detail it here on YouTube. Read the book. It's like, wow, you guys did that? Who's the devil here? I don't know. But anyway, the first book examines the origins and practices of sorcery and witchcraft, discussing how individuals come to engage in such practices by writing circles and symbols and the forms that these take. The second book talks about the methods by which the devil influences and manipulates individuals, detailing the different types of spirits and their interactions with humans. And then the third book in this treatise addresses the legal aspects of witchcraft back in the late 1500s and early 1600s. It provides arguments for the prosecution and punishment of witches, and it discusses the role of magistrates and the importance of confession. Oh, yeah. Did you know that King James was actually a Freemason? I can share that with you in a future podcast. I've talked about it previously, but if you go to News from Scotland, it's a 1591 pamphlet that recounts the North Berwick witch trials. This account details the alleged practices of witches in Scotland and served to reinforce the beliefs and justifications for witch hunts during King James' reign. Both texts offer insight into the historical context of witchcraft, beliefs, and the societal and legal frameworks that supported witch hunts in the late 16th century. So, yeah, it's pretty intense. Scroll down here a little bit. Boom. In this treatise, King James gives his opinion of what he believes witchcraft is. And then he also talks about necromancy, and he talks about astrology, and then he separates astrology from astronomy. And then they go on, and he goes on to justify certain torture methods that were used to obtain confessions out of people that were supposedly or allegedly working with the devil. Yeah. And at the end of this book or this treatise, one of the doctors, which went through absolutely horrific torture protocols to get a confession, the first time they got him to confess, then he was released, or he escaped somehow. Then they caught him again. They brought him back, and then they tortured him again until he couldn't even talk. Actually, he was so messed up. But it's because they had to extract the devil, folks. They had to extract the devil. Okay, so this image right here, like this artist rendition, is actually showing how King James believes certain witches were able to create a storm that caused royalty to drown in the ocean because they took a cat and they did this witchcraft with the cat. And then they put the cat in, anyway, you can see the blueprints right here for how to take a cat and turn it into a storm in the ocean to take out your enemies, is what the thought process is in this book. I mean, it's wild, folks. This is just a few hundred years old. Think about it. Just a few hundred years ago, they were doing stuff like this. And in some countries, they still are. And guess what? They want to bring it back. Oh, yeah. The land of the free, home of the brave. Wild, 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 wild times. So here, let's go to this right here. Of the apprehension, witches lately taken in Scotland, whereof some are executed and some are yet imprisoned. But it was for the people's safety back in the late 1500s, because if they didn't get those evil witches, then, oh man, you better watch out. They can make storms with cats. Anyway, most of you probably didn't know about this book, this treatise of demons that describes how summoning demons makes you a part of the devil, and how if you study the stars, and if you think that the stars have anything to do with a particular attitude or somebody being successful at something, then that's witchcraft. I would be scared growing up in the 1500s and 1600s, especially with my mindset. I can just see where I would go. Like, are you a rebel? Do you talk against establishment ideas sometimes if you see it as wrong by your own opinion? Well, you better not, because like back then, they would have labeled you as a witch or a sorcerer or some type of demonologist, saying you were working for the devil because you didn't agree with the... It basically goes on to say that the crown is the protection of the world from the devil, basically. It's insane. Absolutely insane. So you've got the King James Bible, which came out in 1611, about 15 years after this was published. 1597, on witchcraft and the occult. So very interesting. Very, very interesting. Let me see what else I got for you here. Let's do this. I'm going to do a new screen share here. Share screen window. Boom. We just look at it. This is the Book of Demonology, News from Scotland, 1591 and 1597. Just talks about how King James was actually a part of these witch trials. He saw these events take place, and it had a huge impact on his mindset towards witchcraft. But it spooked him out. like big time. Because if it didn't spook them out so much, things would be far different today. Far, far different today. Like astrology and astronomy used to be the same thing until it was separated. And then one side was demonized. It's amazing how you can demonize groups of people or ideas based upon beliefs. It's quite remarkable. Makes you question reality a little bit more. Like, what's really going on here? I would recommend reading this book or just going through it. It's a good read. This talks about how King James actually became a Freemason in 1601, the Lodge of Scone. King James of Scotland, later King James of Egypt, known for commissioning the King James Bible, became a Freemason in the Lodge of Scone in 1601 at his own request to John Melan, the King's Master Mason and Master of the Lodge of Scone. So if anybody tells you like that, it's so funny when I meet religious people and they say that Freemasons are evil and that you need to read the King James Bible. Like, dude, you got some issues. I'm just saying, you need to do a little more research. It's kind of funny, but not funny at the same time, because people will put their whole life on faith and just believe things on faith and not even do the research. And then they make these claims that are so ridiculous. You want to laugh, but you're also at the same time kind of ashamed. Like, oh my gosh, am I a human too? Am I like that? Really? And then you got to wipe all the sheep crap off you. So I'm just saying, like, you read through scriptures, you read through ancient tablets, and you can tell that there is a very similar theme that connects all of these scriptures and these tablets and these religious beliefs. And it's because the majority of these translations are done by Freemasons, which isn't a bad thing. It actually makes sense when you go back and you read it. You're like, oh, I get it now. Now I understand these scriptures and the way that they've been translated and the way that you can decode these scriptures if you have a specific key, a key that's oftentimes connected to the zodiac, but then there's a lot more to it. I'll give you an example. My friend Angela, she has been decoding the zodiac and astrology and astronomy and petroglyphs. And we recently went out to Crow Canyon several months ago, and there's these petroglyphs of what people call the humpback. And then next to this humpback petroglyph, there is a corn stalk. Well, she was able to decode that actually is referring to when to plant the corn, because the humpback petroglyph is actually representing a specific moon cycle. So the best time to plant the corn is during a specific moon cycle. My point is, you go back to read a lot of these scriptures and texts and tablets, and you have the key, then you can break them down and understand them more and actually not feel so crazy in reading these scriptures thinking like, what were they thinking back then? Why would they do that? Oh, it's because of the zodiac and astronomy. That makes sense. So anyway, read the book. You'll be glad you did. Thanks for watching. Have a beautiful day. Let me know in the comments section what you want to see more of. Do you want to see more decodes of the ancient Anunnaki, of the Sumerian tablets? Do you want to see more decodes of the Bible? Do you want me to get into politics more? What do you want to know more about? Because I talk about all this stuff, and I like talking about all this stuff. So I'm here for you because your time is priceless. Have a beautiful day. Thanks for watching. Great to see you all in chat. Thank you. Be the change you want to see.